All right, guys, so the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and season our meat. I'm going to use probably about 3 tablespoons of Chef V Cake's original seasoning. It has everything you need. You don't really have to add no extra to it, but you want to season your meat really well. You want to make sure it's fully coated, like you want to see the seasoning, okay? So then you're going to warm up about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in a cast iron skillet and go ahead and cook your meat. I like my meat cooked medium well. So I would say you probably need to sear it about 3 minutes on each side and then set it to the side so it can rest. During the time that it's resting, it still will be cooking. So it's going to be perfect. Don't think that it's, going to be undercooked because it won't. All right, so my little skillet to the side, I'm just putting some water in it because I don't want it to burn. But I'm going to saute some vegetables in that. So I want to say I had maybe like 6 to 8 little pieces of steak that I cooked. And you can find those in the grocery store. They normally are like the small cuts of sirloin, or you can use filet too, or you can get like a whole like sirloin tip and then just cut your own. So I'm melting some butter. I want to say I did maybe like 3 tablespoons of butter. And you want it to get a little brown, but you don't want it to burn. So that's why I took it off the heat. And I'm adding just some chopped onions and some fresh chopped garlic. And then I did whole peppercorns. If I make this recipe again, I do suggest maybe like kind of crushing the peppercorns just a little bit. Because once you make the sauce and then you're like eating, I don't really like the whole peppercorn. So I would say just get like your little... I think it's called a motor dish, and then just kind of crush them up just a little bit, or you can use a glass and put them in a plastic bag. Just give them a little crunch. So you're gonna let that simmer until your peppercorns get soft, your onions get soft, your garlic is gonna be fragrant. Don't burn it. Don't burn it. It's gonna be so nasty if you burn it. All right, and I'm just cooking the last couple pieces of my meat right here. And if you look in the back, you see my red skin potatoes. They boil until they get soft. Now, I believe that was about a 1/4 cup of cognac or brandy. It'll be in the description box. Excuse me, I can't remember if it was cognac or brandy, but you're gonna use about a 1/4 cup of that. And then I'm just sauteing some whole organic baby bella mushrooms in my cast iron skillet that had the drippings from my steak. So in the sauce, just add a little bit, I'll say about a tablespoon of red wine vinegar. This right here, you see the slow motion? Don't use that much. That shit is so salty. Just use like a 1/2 tablespoon of it, especially if you're doing a small amount like I did. It was just so salty. I had to keep adding, but it's always a way to fix it. So I just had to, make more sauce than I needed. All right, you want to bring it to like a low boil, and then you're going to add your heavy cream to it. Just a little bit. You guys know I don't really do measurements because I just kind of cook just off of feeling. But I will give you a guide in the description box of measurements that you can go off of. I would say probably about a 1/4 of a cup, maybe even less. But because I use so much of that beef-based broth, then I had to keep cutting it. So you'll see me cut with water like just now, and then cut more with some heavy cream. But I saved it. It was still good. So I'm just going to add those sauteed mushrooms to it. And I just cleaned my cast iron skillet out real quick. And we are going to do some asparagus. because I love asparagus. Asparagus is top tier in this household. Y'all just seen that bottle. So it was a Ciroc, whatever brown Ciroc that Diddy has. That's what I put in there because that was the only thing that I could find at the store. I could not find like regular bourbon or cognac. I don't think it was cognac because I could have just used some Hennessy. So I believe that it had to be bourbon. Whatever. Taste it, make sure it's good, make sure it's not too salty. Make sure it like has all the extra flavors you need. If you need to add anything to it, this is the prime time before the sauce settles. Now, in my cast iron skillet, I'm melting 2 tablespoons of butter. I think I got hungry because I ate a mushroom. Okay, and then now we're just gonna take our make sure y'all wash our vegetables, asparagus, a little bit of sea salt, and that's really it. Like, I'm not putting a whole lot of seasoning on that because everything else is seasoned. So that's enough. You just want to cook it for about 2 to 3 minutes. I got another video on my lamb chop video. I believe I show you how to cook asparagus. And I mean, it's really not hard to cook asparagus. Like, you don't want it mushy. You just want it until like you can crunch it and it's not like tasting like you just picked it out the ground. But you want it to still have some crunch. You don't want it to be mushy. So once the potatoes are done, just mash them up. I got an old school masher. Shout out to my nana, rest in heaven. Take your little old school potato masher, mash the potatoes up. I'm adding, okay, so I have another mashed potato recipe, but this is just a different way. I got some garlic and herb butter, like rosemary and Parmesan. I think it's got all that kind of stuff in there. So I'm using that whole thing for my butter. I'm using heavy whipping cream. You could use buttermilk. I use buttermilk sometimes too, but this is what I had. So the heavy whipping cream, and that just make them creamy. And you're just going to keep adding. I'm using the rest of my Chef V's seasoning. It's bombing potatoes. If y'all ever follow Kimmy Creations .1 on Instagram, she used it in her mashed potato video. Fire. I was so excited. Anyway, so now you're going to scoop all that butter in there. And I'm doing a little at a time because I want to make sure it's not too buttery, trying to watch those calories. But who don't need a whole lot of butter and potatoes? And then this is garlic paste. Like, oh my God, y'all, I love using garlic paste to cook in everything. Instead of, sitting there chopping up garlic, I just use the garlic paste. Mix it on that. And like whip. Like, my arm was tired. I had to take a break, but just keep whipping. Whip, 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 whip. Like you Jeezy in the kitchen, like just keep whipping. Add some more salt. Taste it. Make sure it's right. Whip it till your wrist hurt. Like your carpal tunnel, you're going to feel it. It's going to hurt. Keep whipping. Or you could do like, I see like the new school people. I'm real old school in the kitchen. Like, I'm start getting hip. But like if you new school, you could use electric mixer, hand mixer. I seen somebody use a blender. I don't know, soupy potatoes. But you could do something like that. So potatoes is done. Now it's time to get the plate together. Boom. Clean white plate. Potatoes first. And I'm picky about plating too. Like, I don't know, it's art. So look how I do this. I put the asparagus right there. I don't like how it looked because the tips of the asparagus is pointing away from like where you're looking at. So if you sitting there looking at the plate, I don't want to look at the booty of the asparagus. I want to look at the tip of it. So turn it around, wipe your plate off, clean slate. All right. And I'm clumsy as hell and drop my meat on the counter. But that's okay because y'all not eating it. I'm eating it. So lay your meat up. Make sure you stack it. People like to see like when your food is, stacked high. For whatever reason, like flat on the plate is stupid. Stack it up. It just look better. And then drizzle that sauce. Look at the sauce. It's so good. It's not a gravy. It's not thick as hell like a gravy. It's just nice. Soft sauce.